You are listening to The Brave Files, real stories from people living courageously. You can listen to the show anywhere you enjoy podcasts, and we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on Apple Podcasts. It really does make a difference, and we appreciate it. Now here's your host, Heather Vickery.
Hey everybody, this is Heather Vickery. You guys, this is a special weekend edition of the Brave Files podcast. This is something very different than what you've been hearing from me for the last 31 episodes, but this is important. Today, I have a woman named Hinze on the call. She is from a place called Niceville, Florida, which I think is an awesome name for a place, but it's a very serious topic we're here to talk about. Anne, are you actually in the Panhandle, or are you just close to it in Florida?
Oh, no, I'm in the Panhandle.
So Anne is it. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I didn't misspeak. Anne is on the ground in the Panhandle in Florida. And as all of you know, there has just recently been serious devastation in that area. I actually had a friend and listener reach out to me earlier in the week and specifically ask if I could bring Anne on the show so that all of my people out there listening can truly understand what's happening down there, because as many of you know, the president has come and gone, and we are not seeing anything about what's happening. So Anne, can you tell us what's going on down there, and then what you're doing and how we can help you?
Sure. So I live 2 counties over to the west. I'm in Okaloosa County. So we drive from Okaloosa to Walton, and then Bay County is where Panama City is located. Calhoun County and Jackson County are also really affected. Those are counties to the north and to the east. We started on Friday, so technically maybe less than 48 hours after the hurricane had made landfall, with an organization called Crowdsource Rescue. They're similar to the Cajun Navy. They do welfare checks and rescues. They're civilian search and rescue people. And we just felt like we needed to be there helping. So we went.
Yeah.
And our first ticket took us to an area in Panama City known as Callaway. And we couldn't even get down the road. We stopped. My husband drives a big F-250 4-wheel drive truck, and he was able to use ropes and pull the trees out of the road so that people could at least have a clear exit at that point. And as he was doing that, I just jumped out of the truck and started walking down the road looking for the address where I was checking on people. But as I was looking around, I realized I was in a very, very poor area of town because it was all trailers.
Was anything still there? Was anything still standing?
Very little. It was very clear that there was at least one, if not multiple, tornadoes that had come through that area. You would have 1 or 2 trailers that would be standing, and then it would just be a field of debris. And it was just really mind-blowing. It really looks like a bomb has gone off in Panama City.
And listeners, we have pictures of this, and it's not like I don't want it to be like a train wreck. I just want you to see it and understand this is the reality of these folks living in the Panhandle right now. It's not sensationalized media. It's not just one place that it's being blown up. This is what these folks are experiencing, and it's complete and utter devastation. So I do have pictures. I want you to check it out because we need your support. That's why Anne is here, right? We, from all over the country, wherever you are, there is a way you can help these people. Okay, sorry, continue, Anne.
No, so one of the first things that you hear when a storm is coming, because we live right on the Gulf of Mexico here in the Panhandle, is the first thing that they do is evacuate the mobile homes, the trailers, and anybody that's in any kind of a modular home. That's the first thing that they call for to be evacuated. And, as you get on Facebook and you start seeing comments, people have been really harsh about people not leaving. But what I want people to know is that not everyone has the resources to evacuate and to leave.
Let's just talk about that for a second. What do you need? What are the resources? That makes so much sense to me, but I think it's a different layer of understanding because most people are like, oh, you should just get out. It's like telling, a poor person that they should just read a book to better their life, right? So what is required to vacate?
So here's what we do. And, we live in an upper middle class area in our town. And so we have the resources. We're very privileged to be able to afford those things. But, we can afford to go put gas in our car. It's about $40 to $45. We can afford to go to the grocery store and stock up on food. I had been out of town for 10 days before the hurricane was coming. So I spent $300
Wow.
to restock the food in my house along with a lot of the hurricane supplies. Typically, we have some of those things on hand, but we had done a lot of prep for Irma last year, and water doesn't last forever in plastic containers, so you have to use it. So,
Right.
Once we stock up, we either redonate it if we need to, which is what we did in this situation.
I didn't even know that water didn't last forever in plastic bottles. I feel
Yeah.
really stupid that I didn't know that. I've never
Yeah.
even seen an expiration date on a bottle of water.
It also doesn't last really long if it's been left out in the sun, like what happened in Puerto Rico.
Holy cow. So what is the shelf life of water? I feel like this is important to know.
It depends, I think, where you keep it. Florida's hot. A lot of people store their hurricane supplies in the garage. So if you're storing your supplies in a place that's warm, then it's a shorter shelf life. I would say, nothing official, but I would say within about 3 months.
Wow. I think that's important, right? If you are taking supplies to people, check the dates on that stuff and make sure that it's safe for them to consume.
Yep. It just, the water can taste bad if it's been sitting out in the heat and plastic.
Okay. Sure. And it leaches things from the bottle, I know, as well.
Right. Yes. So, but we were able to do that. And if we needed to leave, we either have people to go to or we have the funds to be able to afford a hotel.
Right.
We also have the money to make sure that our animals are up to date on their shots, which a lot of the people in the areas where we're happening, they don't have that. If they have a vehicle, they didn't have enough money to put gas in it. Right. One of the women that we talked to said that on Tuesday, the day before the hurricane was going to hit, she had $2.50. That was all the cash she had. And she had to choose between refilling her husband's heart medication and putting gas in the tank.
Oh my goodness, that's devastating.
Yep. So the day that we talked to her, her husband did not have his heart medication because they had opted to put gas in the tank, but they had used most of the gas running the car to charge their cell phone so that they could try to get a signal out, which cell phone service is still really shaky. So it's hard to communicate. I'm hoping when we go back this weekend that things will be better, but we couldn't even get in touch with our dispatcher on Sunday when we went the other day.
So how are you in this organization you're working with? How are you helping people, and what can we do to support that from wherever we are in the country?
What we do personally, I think it varies from team to team, but we carry a vehicle that is fully stocked with everything that you could possibly need, except charcoal. We didn't have charcoal. Somebody asked us for charcoal, but I have charcoal this time.
Awesome.
But, we have tools. We have chainsaws and pole saws, and we have, some heavier tools that we can use to help clear walkways or driveways. We also have bags of food that we can hand out. We've got hygiene bags. I've got some little toys for kids if we come across them. I have shelf-stable baby formula that's ready to feed, some diapers, just kind of a random collection of things that we might possibly need. I carry a fully stocked first aid kit because that's one of the things that I'm doing. I am first aid and CPR certified. And, those are valuable skills when you go out.
Absolutely.
And people have been, they've got bumps and bruises and cuts and abrasions, and they just need a little bit of first aid.
Where are they sleeping if their homes are destroyed?
Well, it depends. Just this block area that we have been working in, there are people that have lost their trailers, and I asked them where they're staying, and one of the teenagers told me that they were staying in an abandoned trailer that did not have as much damage as theirs. A lot of people are still staying in their trailers as long as they're intact, but intact, it means that they're standing, but they don't, their windows are broken, their doors have blown off, they may or may not have steps to get in and out of the trailer.
Wow.
And a couple, the man was sitting next to a grill, and I didn't see his wife at first, but they had constructed a really rough shelter out of a tarp and a mattress that they had been able to salvage from the ruins of their home.
Oh my God.
And so I only had one tent at that point, and I gave it to them. And then my husband built them a bigger shelter inside one of the trees that had fallen down. We have like really bushy longleaf pines.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took his chainsaw and just basically carved a cave in it. And then
Wow.
I dug through the rubble and debris of what was left of their trailer, and they had a building, and found blankets and curtains and things to
Keep them.
keep them shaded because it's so hot. You know,
Wow.
she didn't have a way to go to the bathroom. So I found a 5-gallon bucket and then dug through the rubble until I found the toilet seat so that she could relieve herself.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's just, I mean, some of these people are living really, really rough.
Yeah, it just doesn't even sound like something you would ever imagine is happening in this country. So many horrible things in other places in third world countries, and nobody's talking about it. So you and I talked about this before we started recording the episode. I'm in Chicago, and you asked me how much press and coverage we were getting on it, and from my perspective, almost none. And even in my social media feed, the friend that connected us is the only person that I see talking about what's happening. There's nothing coming out about it. Do you guys know this? Like, when you're listening to this, are you aware of just how awful it is? And the other thing is, it's not just the poor communities. In fact, Anne, why don't you share with me what we were starting to talk about the communities that aren't poor and how devastating it is for them as well.
Right. So, you know, the thing about a disaster is it's indiscriminate. It does not affect just a poor area or a wealthy area. So there are people that had $1 million homes who lost their homes. The one good thing I will say is that homes that were built to the new hurricane codes, they seem to fare pretty well.
Okay.
But a lot of Panama City proper is old. The infrastructure is old. The buildings are old. Now they make you tie your roofs onto the house with hurricane clips. So that's why we lost lots of roofs, especially in the poorer areas that are older, is because they didn't use hurricane clips back then. But the difference between a wealthy community or even a middle class community and a trailer park is that most of your average Americans that have homes have insurance. They have homeowners insurance, they have vehicle insurance. So they have resources available to them to replace what they lost. But the people that are living on the margins or the ones that are deep in the cracks of society, they don't have that. I don't know where they're going to go. We had gone to an area where there were a bunch of duplexes, townhomes, and they were heavily damaged. And on Friday, when we checked with them, they were the ones that said they only had $2.50 and no gas. We went back on Sunday to bring them gas and also to give them some cash to get more gas. So we put gas in their gas tank, and they were all packing up to leave because the landlord had told them they all had to get out.
Oh my goodness.
The buildings were damaged. He's going to fix them, but they can't live there in the meantime.
Right. And so where in the world are they going to go?
Right. One of the families in that duplex is moving to Iowa.
All right.
That's the only place they have to go.
Wow.
You know, and they had a teenager and a middle schooler, and the teenager, she was really sad. You know, she's getting uprooted out of the life that she had here.
Of course. I have a teenager. It would be so difficult to just rip all of that away from them. And it's so scary.
Right. To start over.
How are you providing these resources? Is the organization that you're working with giving them to you, or are you personally providing these resources?
So the things that we went with on Friday were mostly ours. And we had a few friends come and drop off basically whatever they bought for the hurricane that they knew they weren't going to be needing now because we were spared. They came and dropped off at our house, and we gave out everything that we had on Friday. And then when I got back, I posted pictures and I said, you know, we're going to go back on Sunday. If you want to donate, here's what we need. And our friends and family showed up.
That's amazing.
So everything that we're taking has been donated.
So if we want to support you and help you with that from Chicago, the best bet I have is to send you some cash directly to you to get what you need, get those supplies, and go out and help people, right? It's not to make a donation to the organization.
You can make a donation to the organization because they're going to continue to send teams places, and they're going to continue to buy supplies and things like that. We just we are able to be self-funded.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to make donations too, that
because they continue to do all sorts of social services work, right?
Yes, they're still staying here to do relief work, but there's major flooding in Texas, so they're already planning to send teams to Texas.
Yeah. The one thing that I did read is that FEMA is not there. Is that accurate?
So it's not entirely accurate. FEMA is there, but they're not necessarily going door to door and registering people in the communities that I'm in. Okay. I asked one of the families on Sunday, and she's like, "Oh yeah, the FEMA guy was here, but he couldn't understand that we didn't have a cell phone signal and no Wi-Fi to register."
Oh, God.
Because one of the downsides of our digital age is that everything is accessible on the internet.
Except for when it's not.
Except for when it's not. And we have a complete breakdown of everything in Bay County. They're just starting to get it to where Verizon is working again, because the Verizon system completely was pretty much annihilated.
Well, and even beyond that, I'm learning more and more. We have a guest coming up on the show in a couple weeks that works in poor communities in Chicago. They don't have Wi-Fi because they can't afford to have Wi-Fi. So even beyond having your systems down from the storm, I suspect there are some communities out there that probably don't have access to those kinds of privileges on a regular, everyday basis.
Absolutely. And the family that we found where the wife was under the tarp, they haven't had a cell phone since July, and they don't have cable television, and they did not know that the hurricane was coming.
Oh my God.
That just floored me. I had to go sit down.
Yeah, because where are your community members there? Where are the people who are knocking door to door and saying, "We're not safe. We need to get out of here"?
I actually flagged a police officer down.
Yes.
And I was talking to him, and he informed me that I was in one of the most dangerous crime-ridden areas, and I said, "I get it, but they need help too." And he's like, "Half of them are drug addicts." I said, "I already figured that out."
So they weren't worth letting them know that they could die? That's infuriating to me.
I don't feel like that's completely what he was saying. I think he was more concerned for my safety. But the idea that these people, like, their lives aren't worth as much as someone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is very infuriating.
Yes.
And I asked him, I said, "Why did nobody go up and down the streets with a bus, with a loudspeaker? There's a hurricane coming. We have shelters available. Hop on, we'll take you there."
What did he say? Because that's a great question.
Well, let me ask my next question. I asked him, I said, "And why, knowing what the carnage is now, is there not a bus going around getting people whose homes have been destroyed, whose trailers are piles of rubble, and taking them to shelters?" And he said that he was not aware that there was anything like that in their county.
Oh, stop.
But he was frustrated as well. He said that part of what he was doing was just going around and answering people's questions. But when you have a complete breakdown of communication, it's hard to get the words out.
Wow.
And they have distribution stations. A lot of them are drive up. Well, that works great for somebody whose car works and whose car is smashed by a tree.
Yeah, and has gas.
And has gas. And has money to sit and wait in a long line, has enough gas in their tank to wait in a long line. But what about the people that don't have those resources or don't even have those abilities? What about the elderly who can't walk half a mile to a distribution center and carry back a case of water?
So how would we get a bus together to go through the communities with a loud megaphone and collect people and take them to shelters? How could we do that?
I don't know. I feel very inadequate.
Which is so heartbreaking to hear you say, because you're doing so much to support and help these people. It
And we
feels
are,
frustrating.
we can only help one person at a time or
Yeah.
one family at a time. And, you move from house to house and family to family, but you carry all that burden with you.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, when you get home, it's just very heavy.
Absolutely.
For example, our town, which is 50 miles to the west, we have a great college in our town, Northwest Florida State College. And they set up a shelter. They had room for 200 plus people. Beds, showers, meals, lots of eager volunteers. They closed the shelter because they only had 23 people come.
Oh my God. And if only they could have taken one of those buses and gone and collected these people and helped
Right.
them.
Yep. But it doesn't seem like, I don't know, just from my perspective, there's some kind of a coordination link missing somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the poor people who are there on those margins that are going to fall deeper into the cracks.
Everybody deserves to be helped and saved. I can't. Everybody deserves a chance to make a different or a better choice or to start over. And we do not get to decide whether they're valuable or not valuable. Every life has to be valuable.
Yep. Well, and I think there's just been a lot of miscommunication and confusing communication. The county at first was like, don't come, it's too dangerous. And then people just said, screw it. And they just went and started helping people. They
Thank
said,
goodness. Yeah.
they told people to go to the Volunteer Florida website to sign up to be volunteers. But I've gotten 3 emails from them saying, hey, we're still trying to get organized. We'll let you know when we have a place for you. And I wrote them back and I said, yeah,
No.
you keep getting organized. I'm going to keep knocking door to door. But Operation Barbecue Relief is in town now, and they've got the ability to feed 35,000 people.
Wow.
But volunteers who are willing to come pick up the food and take it out into the communities and feed people.
Are they struggling to get those volunteers?
They are a little bit. They don't have enough.
Okay. So if any of you listeners are anywhere near, go do that, right? Help feed people at the very least.
Yeah, part of it is just taking the food to the people. If you have the ability to pick people up and take them to the food, that's even better because then it gets them out of their situation for a little while. But at the very least, the poor people that we're seeing, a lot of them just have MREs to eat. How long can you live on that?
Wow.
Theoretically, you could live a little while, but it's not a very good existence.
No.
And it would be nice for them to have a hot meal. The Tide trucks are there through Sunday to wash clothes, but the people we have seen don't have a way to get there to get their laundry washed.
I really wish there was more I could do. I would like to ask now for you to let us know if we want to send you money or get supplies to you. How do we do that? And then also the organizations that you most recommend people support on a continued basis, because this is going to continue to be devastating for a very, very long time. So if you could give us that contact information and where we can support, it's an all points bulletin to everybody out there. I am asking you, please, whatever you can do to support these people. Remember, it can't just be about you and your community. It has to be national and global. We all have to support one another. And I'm imploring you to do that. So Anne, how can we help?
Well, I will tell you, I feel very uncomfortable asking people to send me money because I'm not a nonprofit.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't want to have that responsibility on me. I'm happy with some friends handing me some cash to buy gas and things like that. But if you want to send money, a couple of places would be the United Methodist. They have a disaster relief fund. It's called UMCOR, UMCOR.
Mm-hmm.
And they put that money directly into communities. Our churches here are really starting to mobilize and make long-term commitments to working in neighborhoods and working with people.
Great.
So Crosspoint United Methodist in Niceville will be sending teams. Generations Church in Niceville is sending teams. They've been out there since the first day after the hurricane.
Okay.
Manna Church in Niceville, Destiny Worship Center. Those guys are great local churches that really pour into communities. Also, if you're interested in helping animals,
Mm-hmm.
there's some great animal shelters that are no-kill that are really overwhelmed right now. So you've got the Alaqua, it's ALAQUA Animal Wildlife Refuge.
Okay.
They're taking lots of animals, and they take them from cows down to, mice, pet mice or something.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, they're awesome. And there's really a lot of great places. I don't necessarily feel comfortable recommending some of the national organizations because
Okay.
they want that money to stay locally
Local. Yep.
in this area.
I hear that. I get that. And then the organization you mentioned at the front of the show was what again?
Crowdsource Rescue.
And that's a local organization that you would recommend supporting?
It is not local. It's out of Houston.
Okay.
It was founded after Hurricane Harvey. It's very similar to the Cajun Navy. It's just, civilian search and rescue groups.
Okay.
And so they have been boots on the ground for days doing search and rescue. They've had some pretty amazing stories.
And if somebody wanted to, I totally respect and honor that you are not a nonprofit and that you aren't comfortable with that. If somebody wanted to send supplies to you, for example, through Amazon for you to send out, if they reached out to me, would that be something they would be able to do? I could send them a link maybe where they could support that.
I have a very meager Amazon wish list that I made.
Okay.
And I'm a very practical person. And so I didn't ask for like 100 tents. I asked for 5.
Okay.
Those things, because we need to be able to hand out some way to have some kind of shelter to people.
Okay.
Things like flashlights and lanterns, because the power is going to be out for quite some time in some of those areas. So I put some lanterns on there, Band-Aids, things that I can just hand out to people.
Absolutely. So would you share that Amazon wish list link with us so that if anybody does want to do that and get that to you so that you can get it out to the people, would that be okay?
Yes, I'll have to send it to you because I don't know.
No, yeah, of course. No one would write it down from the show anyway. Go to the show notes. You'll have access to it. I'll also put that in my social media feeds for anyone who wants to quickly help get resources out to these folks who really, really, really need it. And I'm really glad that we were able to connect and get you on. Just from a humanitarian standpoint, thank you for the work that you're doing. I think it's so necessary, and I will support. And if there's anything further I can do to help get the message out, please let us know, and keep us posted. Continue to send images and let us know how we can be helpful, and we'll update as necessary.
Well, thank you. And I think the biggest thing is just for people to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Your lives might go on as normal, but the people in that area, it's never going to be the same. And it's not just Panama City. It's an 80-mile wide swath from the beach all the way up into Georgia. And there's still tons of little communities that haven't received any aid.
Wow.
So we're still starting to hear, as the cell service comes back on, people are finally able to get out a help.
80-mile radius. That's just huge.
I mean, just 80 miles wide. And then, look at the map. Look from the Gulf of Mexico Beach all the way up into middle Georgia.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
So when it hit Dothan, Alabama, it was still a Category 3 storm. And that's more than 100 miles inland.
Holy cow. It
was destructive.
Yeah. And it is interesting to me that there's so much less coverage for that than there was for Irma or Harvey.
Maria.
Yeah. It's so wild to think. I can't identify why. Is it because we're desensitized to it because there have been so many? Or is it because it's a less affluent community? I don't know.
I don't know either. And, Florida is a hotbed for politics. Right now we have a really huge governor's race going on.
Yes, you do.
And I know that the Democratic candidate, Andrew Gillum, his community in Tallahassee was affected some, as well as a lot of the communities around it. So I don't know why we're not talking about it. I know that he is.
Yeah, I'm actually phone banking for him this weekend.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I think, and I'll put that out there too, like just think beyond what's right in front of your face, folks. Think broader and offer support anywhere you can in any capacity that you can. I really think that's important. So, Anne, I know you've got a lot of work to do and you have a family to care for, so I'm going to let you get to it. But send us all those links. We'll put it up. This is a weekend edition. I'll link it for you so you can share it. And thank you so very much for spending some time with me today.
Thanks for inviting me, Heather.
All right, everybody. This is Heather Vickery. This was a special, I feel like I'm on a news thing, a special weekend edition of the Brave Files podcast, but it's important. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. And as always, go out and choose bravely every day. The Brave Files is proudly supported by Lost Format Apparel, a socially conscious clothing company. You already know that homelessness is a huge problem. Over 500,000 Americans are living without shelter and millions more without consistent access to everyday basics. My friends at Lost Format know that solving homelessness is a much larger problem than any one company or person can solve on their own. It requires teamwork, sacrifice, strength, and building communities through personal and professional relationships. And isn't that exactly what the Brave Files podcast is all about? That's why I'm proud to say that the Brave Files has partnered with Lost Format, and together we're working to change the face of consumerism in addressing homelessness. You can now get one of 2 fantastic shirts custom designed specifically for the Brave Files. Each order goes towards providing necessities to the homeless. We have one shirt that, of course, says choose bravely, and another that reminds you that brave is always greater than fearless. Head on over to vickeryandco.com/store to see both beautiful shirts and to check out the entire product line from Lost Format. All of their stuff is super soft and comfortable and has an amazing fit. Use promo code BRAVE to get 10% off of your Brave Files custom t-shirts. And if you have an order over $30, your shipping is free. I choose bravely to take the plunge to help solve homelessness. Are you with me?
Thank you for listening to The Brave Files. Be sure to visit thebravefilespodcast.com to access the show notes and discover fantastic bonus content. Music composed and produced by Matt Lewis of Union Music, LLC.
Special thanks to our editor and audio mix expert, Andrew Olson. I am eternally grateful for all that he does to make each week sound so fantastic. You can hear more of Andrew's work at findandrewolson.com.